Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today I'm going to use a slightly customized database to create a kitchen design for a real world kitchen. So it's going to be quite small, there's going to be some custom cabinetry involved in here, and I just want to take an existing design that's been provided and then create that layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how we can create different wall types. So I'm going to use AutoCAD to use a polyline, so I'll start with the command PL. And then my start point will be 0, 0, 0, and then I can draw my wall. So that will be 2950. It's going to come up in this direction, 3012. It's going to come across, let's say 2656, and then down 60 millimeters, and then it comes off, and I've just got this small sort of nib here in the corner. And I need to add in my walls now, so I'll just click on the pencil tool and that will now create my room. I'll make this wall down at the bottom a little bit deeper, so let's say that this is 250 millimeters because this is an external wall, and then I want to add in my window, so I'll come down and find my preferred window of choice, and I'm going to set that window there 600 millimeters from that corner. It's actually a little bit more, so let's make that more like 800 millimeters from the corner. There we go. And then I need a door, so I'll just come in and find my door setting. And I'm going to choose this door and set this up at the top, and I want that to be 800 millimeters from that corner. So here's my small little room now. And I can change my window because that's clearly too big. So I'll select the window and say that the height of this should be 1 meter off the floor, and that the overall height of this should be 1250 high. Okay, so I need a sink unit, corner units, I need a washing machine, obviously a hob, some wall units in this corner here as well, and then I think what we'll do is make some sort of small breakfast bar down in this corner here. So the first thing I want to do is preset my job specifications. So I want to specify things like my door finish, handle type, the height of my legs. All of these things are set as variables within the system, and they can be customized at any point. But because I know that the customer is choosing a certain style, I can add these in at the start. So I'll go to the order related variables up at the top here, and you can see that I've got the ability to customize all of these settings. Now at first they look a little bit overwhelming, but what I'll do is minimize them down so that I'm just looking at certain folders. So for example, my basic data in here, I'm going to open that up and specify materials for the fronts. So this would be front materials for doors and drawers and that sort of thing. So you can see I've got the materials for the fronts and drawer front 1 and 2, and these have been specified in this case as a black material. I can drop this down and choose from any of the presets, or if need be I can customize the presets to add more in. The same with the carcass material, so I'll go to materials for my carcass, and in this case you can see in here I've got carcass 1 set to 18mm melamine white board that is matte, that's what the M stands for, and then I've got my end panels in here, or my clad panels, matching the front black matte material here at the front. Okay, so I can go through and customize the materials. I can also go to things like the construction, and in here you can see for things like adjustable shelves, I've specified that my base cabinet should have 1 shelf and they should be 20mm set back. I can go to things like the connectors and specify that these should all be dowel connectors instead of dowel and cam connectors, which are the defaults. I can change the height of my legs if need be, and so on. So by working my way through these folders, I can specify my preferences, and then I can always export those settings out as a file, save it into the job folder, and then if I need to, I can come back in and reload it if I wanted to recreate that style numerous times. So once I've come in here, I can then just add this in. So for example, what I want to do is just go to my handles, and I'll just say that this is set as, well, let's keep it as no handles to begin with. So I'll just change that to no handle and then click apply. So the first thing I want is a corner cabinet in this corner. So I'm going to find my corner cabinets, and I know my code. So I'll search for a base 1 door corner, parametric, and this is going to pull through a parametric cabinet that's been made within the system. If I double click on this product, it will bring it in, and you can see it will orientate it to the wall, and as I move around it will spin that cabinet to face it against the wall. You'll notice down in the bottom corner here it's given me some settings, so I can customize the overall dimensions, and I can specify things like the void. I can also customize what's the internal configuration, and then whether I should have a panel in here of some sort for my decorative clad panel. And then I can also specify my width in here if need be. I'll just leave this as the defaults and drop it into place. So you can see it's brought through now my work surface and my door and my plinth and my little decorative panel in here, and it's reduced my overall void to 50 millimeters. So the next thing that I want to do is bring in an infill. So I'll say that this should be a base filler right corner, and then double click on this, and you can see in here I just need to drop this into position and it will bend these around. The next thing I need is a panel, so I'll say a vertical panel, and then in here, because my settings have been already configured, I can just double click and bring this in and then drop that into position. So now that I've got this all set, the next thing I want is a washing machine. So I'll search within the decoration items, and I've got my washing machine in here, so I can just drop this into place. It's going to then give me a space for a washing machine, and if need be I can also bring through things like my installation information as well. So if I close this folder and look under installation, I can go to water, gas and energy, and in here find a wall installation. So I need a high voltage socket, which I'm going to drop on the wall, and then I want some cold water and waste, so I'll drop this in here as well. And what I'll do is I'll just tuck these in behind my washing machine so that they're out of sight, and that will provide power and waste and water to my washing machine. I need another panel, so I'll just copy the existing and then drop that down next to it, and it will pull that across. So I've now got a little housing for my freestanding washing machine, and now I need a sink. So the next thing I want in here is a base 1 door sink, and then in here I'm going to just double click and bring this through. Okay, so it's brought through my sink and my tap in here. You can see that my sill is a little bit deeper than need be. It's clashing with my tap, but that's purely down to my wall. So what I'll do is I'll just click on my wall, just make that a little bit deeper. With it being an external wall, it's more likely to be 300 millimeters. I can move the tap position and the sink position if need be using the parametric variables. So the next thing I want in here is another corner unit coming around here, and then I'll need some sort of infill on the other side. So I'll go back to my base 1 door corner parametric and pull through the opposing corner. And again, I can bring in my settings. So when I bring this in, let me just delete that one out, double click, and then down in here I want again a 50 millimeter void, and in this side I'll have the same Wolfsegel pull-out components in here. I'll say that my filler panel should be 150 millimeters, and I'll keep my door width the same as well. So let's drop that into position, and now the next thing I need in here is another corner. So I'll say a base filler left corner in this case, drop that into position. Now this is quite big as per my other one, but if I need to I can always stretch this and make it bigger or smaller. So I could make that a smaller corner post, but I quite like the size being roughly the same as this return here, so I'll leave it the same. Now I need to find out what this panel is here, so let me just bring that in again. There we go. So now what I need is to find out what gap I've got left in here so that I can bring some furniture in, and we have a handy tool in the form of a laser disto. So just like in real life, I can take my tool in here and measure that I've got a distance of 414. So I'll now take my product of a a drawer pack in here, and I'll find a base to drawer. And I want the one that's got the internal drawer in here as well, just so that I've got somewhere for my cutlery. So I'll bring a double click and then change the width in here to be 414. So I can drop this into place. Okay, so this looks a bit better in here now. Now, if I change my mind later on and I decide that I want to make these smaller and round this up to a round number, I can then subtract that from my overall fillers. So let's make this one a little bit smaller and move everything along. So I'll say stretch article, grab the filler, and then I can say overall that should be 50 millimeters, and that's going to reduce that right down in here. I can then say I want to move this article along, and then again just tuck it up tight. Same with this one. And my end panel, so again just move article, and then I want to take my standard sink unit again and move that up tight to this product here, so I'll just bring it in, and then I'll stretch this product in here and say overall this should be 50 millimeters as well, so that's going to reduce that down, and then I can move this product out the way. So what I'll do is I'll just use move article and set it down over on this side, and then you can see it's extended this across for me, but when I put it back into place I'll have a bigger space. So again I'll just use my disto tool to come in, and you can see I've got now 514 as my overall width in here. So what I can do is I can increase my filler if I wanted to round that up to 450, or I can alter the overall width of the drawer pack. Now I could get a slimline dishwasher in here at 500. So if I reduced the width of my other products, so for example in here I said I wanted to stretch this custom door unit and say a difference of -14 off here, that will make my sink unit 14 millimeters smaller. And if I switch into a wireframe view, I can see that the sink that's come through as by default is still fitting centrally in here. So I know straight away whether this is going to work or not. So that means now that I should have in here a disto width of 528, and then I can put in my custom dishwasher panel of 520. So let's find my base one door fully integrated dishwasher panel, and then in here I need to just change that width instead of 600 to being 520, because that's the width of my custom dishwasher panel. And then in here I just need to nip that corner up a little bit, so again I can just use the stretch panel to stretch and say a difference of 8 mil in that direction. Okay, so I'm going to have to find somewhere else for my drawers, but that's okay. I'm just going to delete it for now and add in my hob unit over on this side. Now I might need to reduce the overall width of this one just to squeeze everything in that I need over here, because I'm referring to a plan that's off the screen. So what I'm going to do is say that this should be changed, and I'll go to the article related variables for this particular product, go to the construction, and then in here under article specific you can see that I have the ability to change the door width down to from the default of 500, and I'll take that down to be a 400 door, so that's going to be a lot smaller. So once I've done that, you can see that it's brought this filler panel out 100 mil, so I can use the stretch tool to effectively squeeze that up the 100 mil I've just reduced the door down by. So I'll say a difference, enter, of -100, and that now squeezes that up for me. Okay, so now I need my cooker. So I'm going to say I want a cooker product, and if I can't find it I can look within my appliance items. So I'm going to find a base 2-door cooker product, and then in here I'm going to come across and drop this into position. You can see it's brought through my default hob and hood, And for now, that's fine, although I can customize that with variables. So if I was to go to the article related variables here, again, I can change that under the appliance and knock those down and change them to be a different type if need be. I'll leave them like that for now. Okay, so I now need my draw pack over here. So let's bring that draw pack in, and that was a code of B2D, base 2 draw. So here's my base 2 draw, and I'm just going to bring that in, and it's going to be too wide at 600. So let's knock that down to 400, I think. That's going to be a bit better, and it'll just carry on my draw line in here. Actually, I wanted the one with the internal draw for my cutlery, didn't I? So I'll just take this one, and again, instead of typing, I can use the S enter key and then stretch with an overall 400 width, and that's now going to set that to 400. Okay, now I need another tall panel in here. So I've got a vertical panel, and I've got one in here with a B at the end of it, which will bring through a base or a plinth. So that will now extend in there nicely. Let me just move that along a little bit. And let's just switch back into realistic view. Okay, so this is looking okay. I just need a tall appliance in here. So let's get that. Let's go to 214, which is the height of my tall appliances. So I need obviously my my oven. So I want to find my 2 draw products so that my draw lines all line through nicely, and I'll bring this one through and set that down next to it. Okay, so this is looking good. The next thing I need is like a very thin tall unit in here, and I have one of those, which is like a tall ladder product. So again, I'll just use my disto tool in here to kind of get an overall width of 314 mil, so 344. So I'll take my tall ladder unit and I'll say that the overall width should be, let's say, 300. I can then tuck that into the side, and then I've got my infill in here at 44 mil. So I'll find my tall filler left and say that that should be a width of 44. There we go. I just need to change this door in here, because you can see that the handle for this door is actually running along the bottom like the rest of my handleless profiles. So what I'll do is I'll change that to be a tall vertical handle. So the way I can do that is actually just select the part in this case, and I'm going to go to the part here and say that edge 4 in here should be what is on edge 3. And I'll take out what is on edge 3 and put that on edge 1. Okay, so I've now got my tall handle running up the side as that profile detail there. Okay, so I need maybe a tall corner unit in this corner here. So I'll just find my tall wall corner unit. So I'll say I want a wall 2 door, and then in here I've got my standard product. I'm just going to double click and bring that in, and you can see in here that I want that to match the same height. So I'll hover over this product here, and you can see it detects the height. I can then use the M for move and pull it along on those lines to then have that flush with the top and working all the way through. And it's a little bit too tight in here for another unit. So what I can do is just stretch this product and say I want to have a difference of 200 mil to pull it out. And that's not going to give me enough for my end panel. So again, I'll just stretch that back and say a difference of minus 20, let's say 25 millimeters. And that will then pull that back. And then this way, again, I want to stretch my product. So I'll say stretch article. And then in here, if I just say a difference of 150 mil, that looks better this time. So I've now got my bespoke size corner unit, and I need an end panel on these as well. So I'll say I want a VP for a vertical panel and pull through my end panels and just drop that into position left and right. And I just need my underclad panels going on these and my top clad panels as well running across the top. So I'll type in HP for a horizontal panel, and I've got my wall cabinet horizontal panel in here, so I'll just say that that should go on the top, and I'm just going to stretch this all the way across to form like a bridging unit, and then I want another one in here and just say stretch back. Now in here I might want that to tuck back in a little bit further, so again I'll just stretch and say difference minus, I think it's 20 millimeters in here, maybe a little bit too much, but we can check. Now that looks good. And then I want my tall cabinet panel in here, so I'll drop this into position and then stretch to the wall, and it will detect that wall for me. Okay, so I've now got my cladding panels looking good. I just need to take that edge off the top of that, so let's select that top edge, and then in here we'll just change you to be the rounded edge at the top. That looks better. Okay, so the next thing that I want in here is my under panels. So what I'll do is just find my horizontal panel here for my wall cabinets, and in here I can then stretch this back, and then I want another one in here as well. So I'll just again just stretch this so that it tucks in neatly, and say difference minus 20. Oh. I want to add some lights onto this, so what I'll do is I'll just use the article related variables on these two panels and go to my lighting tool and say that I want to add in some strip lights. So I'll say that it should be this type of strip light, and that's now going to bring through some LED strip lights, which would then cast a bit of light onto my upstands in here. So that's the next thing that we want in here, is maybe some decorative detailing on this. So let's bring through a niche panel. Let's bring through a backsplash. So in here I'll just say I've got a backsplash, and I'll just stretch this and say that that should stretch to this point here, and let's go all the way up to the underside of our top here and click enter, and that's going to bring through some tiles on the wall there. And again I can go to the article related variables and in here choose a different one if need be. So I'm going to choose these metro style tiles. That looks a bit better. And then in here I want to carry on my tile theme running around the side here. So what I'll do is I'll copy that entire wall and then just drop that down and stretch to this end point. And I want to make sure that that's stretched down as well. So let's stretch that down to the deck. There we go. And then over here we will we'll copy this onto the other side as well. I don't think we need to run it all the way around. So you get the idea in here. And I'll just use stretch article. And in here we'll just say that we want it going roughly to the underside of those cabinets in there, so that it kind of lines through nicely. But what I do want is a matching upstand for my worktop running all the way around, which we'll talk about in a second. So if I go to my niche panel in here, I've got one set up where I can bring this one in, and I'll just say stretch, and again overall 100 millimeters. and I'll just pull that all the way across. And in here, if I modify, if I do article related variables on that, I'll change the specification to be matching my work surface. So if I just come into here, I can choose the same work surface material. If I can find it. Okay, so where is my list? I'll just choose this one for now and look into the system. Here's my white that I'm using to match and click apply. There we go, that looks better. So I want that now on the other side as well. So I'll copy that along and then put it on this wall and again stretch. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And I could have that coming up in here, but I'm happy with the tiles, I think. Okay, so this is looking good. Let's switch over to the other side because we've not got a fridge or anything like that in here yet. So I need another tall panel. So let's copy that tall panel that I put in here. So that would be this one. And I'm just going to drop it onto the other side of the room over here. And then I need a 2145 product. So I've got a fridge, this one I think. Yep, this looks good. So let's just drop that into position. And what else do I need in here? You can see in here that this product's not quite deep enough, but that's okay. What we'll do is we'll return that plinth. Actually, let's delete that product there, and we'll put in a 2145 vertical panel without the plinth. There you go, that'll knock that down there and it's running in nicely into here. So you can see we're picking up on some of these smaller little details that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on during a site survey. I need my upstand to run around the other side in here, and I think I will carry on those walls. So let's just copy those while we're here. So let's stretch you to this end point. There we go. And this thing in here. Oh, just want to stretch. There we go. That looks better. And let's copy this, put it on this side, stretch these, and then in here we will go to this end point here with a and then come back on this side, stretch that up to there, I think. Yeah, that's looking good. We need a wall unit in there as well, maybe a double door. So let's go for a wall 2-door. Well, actually, let's put in a wall filler left first, filler left, and we'll keep that as small as possible. Let's say something like a width of 50 millimeters, just as an infill in here. So yeah, let's move that with the M key over to one side, drop that down. We then want a wall 2-door, and again I'm just going to drop this into position, and I can then, what I can do is I can move this around and have that stretch to match. So let's just move that to this side and then stretch up to my infill panel. So you can see the setting on my top detail there is not matching, so I'll just have to reverse those around. So what I'll do is I'll say edge 1 in here. Again, should be switched to not the finger pull detail, but just the rounded detail. And then I need my wall panels on these as well. Now I want a little bit of a breakfast bar area in here because it's going to just provide somewhere to sit on this side, and I might just copy that wall unit across. So let's get another one of those panels over onto this side, copy this product over. So let's move you, and I need to actually stretch this to the nib on this side. like that, and then maybe just come off that nib a little bit, just because I don't want it to be a dead size. So I'll say a difference of -20 mil coming off that nib. And then in here in this corner, I want another infill. So I'll say a wall filler right, and then I can double click in here and then try and squeeze that into that position in there. Again, I just want to stretch this back to here and change those trims around. So let's just select that top edge in here, because these infill panels are matching my doors with the finger pulls. So let's take those off. Okay, so the next thing then would be some panels across the top and bottom of here. So again, I can just copy the existing ones. So I'll just say that that's going to go to here and then stretch out to the wall all the way across. And then in here, I want an eye for a multiple insert. It will then remember my previous installation and then bring it in again. So I can again just say stretch. And in this case, I'm going to stretch it up to that wall there, and the fitting team on site can cut around that bit there. And then I want another one to go into this area, and again I'll just stretch that across. And then again I want to copy the bottom panel of this, so I take this one, and what's nice is it'll already have my settings on there. So I'll just drop this down. So what I want to do now is just stretch this, so I'll just come in and stretch from one side to the other over here. And that's going to then have my panel running all the way across. This looks okay. And again, I just want to copy that to the other side. So again, I'll just copy my panel over here. And I just need to move that again just so that it's tucked in nice underneath. And it might be a bit too long, that panel there. So what I want to do is just stretch. There you go. That looks a bit better. So I wanted a breakfast bar in here. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. I think probably the best is to actually just draw what we want and use the power of AutoCAD. So what I'm going to do is just switch into a wireframe view, so it's a little easier to see. And I'll just draw now from here where I want my worktop to come out. So I'm going to have it come out sort of flush with this end panel, and it might come off a little bit in here, maybe 100 mil, and then come back this way, let's say 450 mil out, and then back 450, and then back to this wall, and then we'll just close that off. So that should give somebody enough space there just to tuck a stool in behind, just to sit down and have a quick bite to eat before they leave. So let's get that in there. And what we want to do is just round this off. So I can use the command fillet to then fillet this corner and this corner. Oh, I need to apply a radius, so I'll type fillet radius 50. And then in here, radius those corners off, just in case somebody was to walk into the edge of that granite in there. It'd be quite painful. So that looks a little bit better in here. Now what I need to do is go to the Design tab and use Part Designer and say that I want a contour part from that piece. And that's going to put that piece in far too high. Let's say that I want the offset on this to be 900. So that should come in looking a little bit better. Actually, I'll need it to be 870 so that it lines up with my carcasses. And instead of this being an adder panel, we want to specify a work surface. And in here, we want to choose a work surface part. So you can see in here, it's brought through the work surface finish. And if I switch that over, it's brought through my material because I've specified it as a work surface in here now. So that looks quite good. Then the last thing we're going to need in here is maybe just something to support this on the wall. And the way that we can do this is just go and use a part designer tool called Part to Edge. We'll select that bottom edge in here, and then we can alter this panel that's been brought through. So you can see a full height panel's been brought in, which is no good. We'll say that this should be 150 millimeters. It should be inset 25 millimeters. And then we want to change the material in here. So instead of it being raw MDF, what we want is this to be an adder panel. And we'll just put an adder panel material in here. So we'll find from the system a filler panel. So you can see it's matching now my front. And then in here, I'll change that to be 22 mil. There you go, that's a bit better. I just need to bring it down so that it's on the underside of the offset of here. So let's do 0 on that, and that's now brought it over. And then in here, I want that to be offset 22 mil. Oh, sorry, that's 0, 0. There we go, that's looking a lot better. So now I've got my part for that to sit on here, and I might need like a little leg. So what I'll do is find a leg in the system and add it in. Again, switch into wireframe view, and I'll just draw again some geometry that's going to find the center here now. That's my center point at the underside of my work surface. And I want a leg from the Hayfley library, I think. So what I'll do is just select the part. And I'll just say that I need to apply a connector to that. So I just need to find in here some sort of leg. So if I search in here for leg, I just need to find one. I've got a table leg round here. That might work. And I'll just click apply on that. And then in here, I want to assign that to that point. And I'll increase my level of detail in here. Okay, so the system's now going to refresh. It's going to add in all of my fittings and hardware. Hopefully you'll see in here I've got my table leg that's been brought through just to support this. I need to nudge that along a little bit, I think. So what I'll do is I'll just select that part and I'll turn 3D working on. I can then grab it and move it over using AutoCAD Move 150 millimeters and then turn 3D editing off. I'll get rid of my polyline in there as well. And that's just not that tall, so I need to move that down or find a different table leg in here. Rather than it being a table, it needs to be a breakfast bar. So what I'll do is I'll just move all of this down. If I use a DI command for distance, I can actually measure that I need to move this down 170 millimeters. So in here, what I'll do is say select parts, these two parts and this part, and then I can grab, well, let's just grab these two to begin with, and I'll use the move command to move this in Z minus 172, and then click tick, and then I'll do the same for this. So rather than it being a tall breakfast bar, in this case, it's now just a table height little nook for someone to sit on. Okay, let's put that back in there. That's looking a little bit better. And what else do I need? Oh, I'll need a chair for them to sit on. So let's go to my library of decorative items, and then in here under interior, I can then choose a nice looking chair. So something maybe a little bit more modern. White might lighten it up a little bit more. That looks better. So let's put that into position. There we go. So this is where I'm going to sit and eat my breakfast. I've got my fridge, my washing machine. I've got a slimline dishwasher behind my panel over here. I've got my sink. I've got a hob and my hood. I've also got my integrated appliances. So I've squeezed quite a lot into this small little kitchen in here. And what I want to do now is just split up my worktops. So you can see I've got a join in my worktop here. That's fine. What I'll do is just say select parts, and I'm going to choose this worktop and then choose my splitting line. So in this case, I'm going to split it along this red line to cut it in half. And then I want to split this running this way, I think. So again, I'll just select this part, and I'm just going to click on this red line here. Okay, so I've now got my worktop split, I'll join these two together. So let's say select parts 1, 2. And I've now got these two work surfaces that I can now join into one work surface. That's looking a bit better. And if need be, I could put connection bolts in here as well and that sort of thing. So installation, let's put some more installation items in here because I've only got my installation item for my washing machine. So let's call in here water, and I need a hot and cold inflow. So let's put this into this scenario in here. And let's just hide that product. And I'll align it down there. Let's rotate that round. So I've got my water on that position there, right in the middle. What else do I need? I'll need, I think this would feed this, wouldn't it? So I just need some power. So I'll say high voltage socket on the wall. Let's just drop that next to it for this thing behind. I need as well a high voltage socket up top for any lights, that sort of thing, and maybe another power. So I need a power socket in here. So you can see we've got different types of power sockets. Let's just add one in here by the sink so you get the idea. Now let's bring in some decorative items. So if we go to coffee, let's bring through a coffee machine, maybe a little imos coffee mug. What else do we need? Probably a toaster. So let's search for toast. Drop that into position there. What else do we need? I don't know. Let's keep it pretty clean. This is looking good. So if I was sat on my little chair over here, let's put a camera into position. So what I'll do is I'll go into my top view, and you can see I've got my pull-out mechanisms in here, different sizes because of those doors. They've changed. I need to bring back my sink, so I'll show my sink unit. What else do I need? I think that's about it. Let's put my camera into place and we'll do a quick render. So if we go to the presentation tab in here, I just need to go to create camera, and then I'm just going to say that we're looking this way, I think. And then in here, if I pull this across, I've got a quick preview. I'll go into realistic view. And you can see in here, this view is not great because I'm upside down. So what I need to do is go to the properties, and I'll say that my roll angle in here should be 0. So now I'm the right way up, but I look like a mouse. So I need to change my target in here to be, let's say 1600 for now. And the height of my camera should be at 1600. So it looks a little bit more like this. And I'll nib it over just a little bit, just so that we're not catching the edge of this end panel here on this line of sight, because that can look a little bit ugly. Bear in mind, it is quite a small kitchen. Okay, let's just rotate that. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better. Let's go into that view. And in here you can see it's brought through some lights for me automatically. So what I'll do is just switch into the realistic view in here. And then the next thing that I want to do is just come into my settings. I'll set this for a medium quality render. And we'll just turn on some external images. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Might make it a little bit brighter. We'll have to see how these lights react. So let's just turn that on. Okay, so we'll just wait for this to finish rendering. It shouldn't take too long to have this come through. Okay, we're not looking too bad in here now. I think we probably just need to alter our view and our camera a little bit, because obviously, because this is such a small kitchen, we're getting a bit of a restricted view. So what I'll do is I'll open up the camera settings. So if I just select my camera, I can do that by going to Properties. Sorry, Properties. There we go. And then I'll quick select the camera. So I can choose in here camera equals all. I've only got one at this point. And you can see in here that I've got my field of view in here. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And we'll go into here, the camera view. That looks a little bit better. Let's go back to select the camera. And I might have to make that field of view a little bit bigger. There we go. And let's just switch back into that. And we'll run another render. Yep, this is better. So let's close that down. And I'll just nudge it over a little bit because it looks like I'm standing up right next to the wall unit. So just nudge that over a little bit more. And what I'll do is turn on my environment again, set this back into realistic view. And you can see I've got an awful lot of lights in here that have been brought through automatically, but I can customize the quantity and the different types of lights in here as well if need be. Okay, so there we go. That's looking a lot better, I think. So this will take a couple more seconds, and once that's finished, we'll save the drawing, the order and the visualizations, and then the next step will be create some drawings and send it into production, and we'll do that in the next video. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll speak to you soon.